This happened 3 months ago. I was home alone in my top-floor apartment. My roommates had gone for the weekend. I thought I'd get a lot of work done without distractions. I was wrong. The first night was quiet, too quiet. I set up my laptop and got to work. The clicking of my fingers on the keyboard filled the silence. After a while, I noticed Milo, my cat, staring at a corner of the living room. He seemed tense, his ears twitching. I looked, but nothing was there. I felt a chill run down my spine. I figured it was just the old building settling and went back to my work. The next day, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft, shuffling sounds. I paused and glanced at the door. I knew I was alone. Maybe it was the pipes? I shrugged it off and tried to concentrate again. Later, I walked into the kitchen for a snack. That's when I noticed my favorite mug had moved. It went from the counter to the table. I didn't remember moving it. I hesitated, my stomach tightening. Maybe I was just distracted. That night, I crawled into bed. The tapping started then soft at first, like fingernails on wood. It came from the bedroom wall. I tried to convince myself it was just a neighbor. But it felt off. I pulled the covers tight, heart racing, hoping to drown it out. The next morning, I stumbled into the bathroom. I glanced in the mirror and gasped. There were smudged fingerprints on the glass. I was alone. I wiped at them with a cloth, but they wouldn't come off. It felt wrong, like something had watched me while I slept. Days passed, and the strange things kept happening. I heard something that sounded like a child's laughter far away. I pulled my phone off the charger. That's when I noticed my bedroom door was slightly open. I swore I had locked it. I was scared. Each night, my anxiety crept in deeper. I tried sleeping during the day, but I would often wake up to Milo staring at that same corner again, eyes wide. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to leave the apartment, convinced something was waiting on the other side of the door. Then one night, with a burst of courage, I decided to confront it. I shouted, "Why are you watching me?" into the empty space. I held my breath. Silence filled the room. Just when I thought I might be okay, I felt a cold breath on my ear. "You shouldn't be here." I stumbled back, trembling. I didn't know what had happened, but I still feel it. 3 months later, I look at Milo, and I wonder if he sees what I no longer can. The fear still lingers, and I can't shake the feeling that something is waiting. The morning after that chilling encounter, I woke up late. My heart was still racing as I recalled the whisper. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched. I got out of bed, hoping a shower would help clear my head. Milo was sitting by the door, fur bristled like he sensed something off. I swallowed, trying to ignore the knot in my stomach. As I stepped into the bathroom, I noticed the shower curtain was drawn. I could have sworn I left it open the night before. I hesitated, staring at it. I took a deep breath and pulled the curtain back, but nothing was there. Just an empty bathtub waiting to be filled. I laughed nervously, convincing myself I was imagining things. After the shower, I decided to do some cleaning. I started with dishes, hoping simple tasks would calm my nerves. As I washed my favorite mug, the one that had moved days before, I noticed a red splotch on the bottom, something I hadn't seen before. I scrubbed it, but it wouldn't budge. Panic bubbled inside me. It looked like a handprint, but it was small and distorted, as if made by a child. I quickly dropped the mug and stepped back. "Get a grip," I muttered to myself. I put on some music to drown out my thoughts. As I wiped the counter, a loud crash surprised me. I turned around to see the mug had shattered on the floor. My heart raced. My hands trembled as I knelt to clean up the pieces. Determined to take control, I decided to go for a walk, to breathe fresh air and find some normalcy. I looked back at Milo, who was staring at the corner again, eyes wide and unblinking. I forced myself to leave, shutting the door firmly behind me. The fresh air felt good as I walked through the neighborhood. But I couldn't shake a sense of dread. The streets felt too quiet, and people I encountered seemed to cast me odd looks, as if they could see something I couldn't. I tried to ignore them, thinking I was just being paranoid. When I returned home, I opened the door to an unsettling sight. The television was on, buzzing with static. I was sure I had turned it off before leaving. My pulse quickened. As I reached for the remote, I noticed something on the coffee table. A crumpled piece of paper lay there. I picked it up, my hands shaking. It was a drawing, a child's drawing. It showed a stick figure with dark, hollow eyes and a big grin. Below it, in messy handwriting, it read, "I'm coming to play." I dropped the paper, fear coursing through me. How did it get there? Just then, I heard a giggle echo from the hallway. It was soft, almost sweet, but it froze me in place. I slowly turned toward the sound, the hairs on my arms standing on end. Who was there? That's when my phone buzzed. I glanced down at the screen, my heart racing. An unknown number had messaged me, "You can't hide from me." I felt a cold wave wash over me, as if the very air had turned heavy. I grabbed Milo and backed away, unsure of what to do next. I didn't know who or what was coming for me. I backed away from the phone, my heart pounding. I needed to think. I could call someone, but who would believe me? The strange drawing, the giggle, it was all too much. Milo whined softly, sensing my distress, and I felt a rush of determination. I wasn't going to let whatever was happening take control. I walked toward the hallway, the darkness seeming to stretch toward me. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling slightly. Silence answered me, thick and unnerving. I crept deeper into the hallway, peeking around each corner, half expecting to see the figure from the drawing. Then I heard it again, a giggle, clearer this time. It came from the direction of the kitchen. I hesitated, weighing my options. My instincts screamed to run, but I needed to know what was happening. I needed an answer. Clenching my fists, I made my way to the kitchen. The light flickered overhead, casting ominous shadows on the walls. I kept my eyes trained on the space behind the fridge, the area that felt most wrong. That's where I brushed against something cold and hard, a small wooden box resting against the wall. I didn't remember putting it there. After a moment of hesitation, curiosity got the better of me. I reached down and opened the box. Inside were several objects wrapped in old newspaper, a faded picture of a child, a rusty toy truck, and something wrapped tighter than the rest. My hands shook as I carefully unwrapped it. It was a porcelain doll, its face cracked but still unmistakably smiling. The eyes were a deep, unsettling shade of blue. My stomach twisted. The doll felt wrong, almost alive in a way that made my skin crawl. I dropped it back into the box and closed it, my heart racing. But the giggling came again, louder this time, almost like laughter blending with whispers. I spun around, the fear rising higher. "Show yourself." My voice echoed in the quiet kitchen, but all I got in response was more silence. Then I saw it, a small shadow darting from behind the pantry. I didn't want to chase it, but I couldn't help myself. I took a cautious step forward and followed the movement, curiosity pushing me despite my fear. As I reached the pantry, I opened the door quickly, but it was empty. The air felt heavier now, as if the room were holding its breath. That's when I smelled it, a sickly sweet scent, like overripe fruit mixed with something rotten. I wrinkled my nose and backed away, my instinct screaming that something was very wrong. And then I heard a soft voice, a child's voice, whispering just behind me, "It's time to play." I turned on my heel, but there was nothing there. Just empty air, and the muffled sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I glanced back at the doll, still in the box on the floor. Somehow I felt it was linked to whatever was happening. Just before I could start to piece things together, my phone buzzed again, drawing my attention back. It was another message, "I'm coming." The air around me felt electric, and a chill shot through me, a warning that I had to leave. I grabbed Milo, ready to bolt out the door, but as I turned to leave, the lights flickered once more, plunging the kitchen into darkness. And then everything went silent. The darkness hung heavy, wrapping around me like a thick blanket. My instincts screamed for me to move, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Heart pounding, I clutched Milo tightly to my chest. His soft whine broke through the silence, grounding me. A creaking sound echoed from the living room, clear and deliberate. I held my breath, every nerve taut. I wanted to scramble for the door, but my curiosity, sharp and relentless, pulled me back toward the sound. "Is anyone there?" I called, my voice barely above a whisper. The creaking continued, but I heard something else, a faint thump, like a footstep landing softly on the floor. A wave of terror washed over me, and I felt ice forming in my veins. Milo barked, and I felt a jolt of adrenaline. I moved toward the living room, each step filled with dread. The shadows danced in the corner of my vision, teasing my mind. I paused just outside the doorway, peering into the dimly lit room. Nothing seemed out of place. The furniture stood still, the flicker from the TV casting eerie shapes against the walls. But the feeling was there. Someone or something was close. I took a careful step inside. The thumping was gone, replaced by a rustling sound coming from the direction of the front door. I turned my head slowly, my pulse racing. "Hello?" I ventured again, barely making a sound. Then, the front door creaked open just a few inches. My heart raced. I hadn't left it open. Panic set in. I darted over to close it, but as I reached for the handle, something caught my eye. A piece of paper fluttered just outside the door, caught in the small breeze. I bent to grab it, my hands trembling. Scrutinizing the writing, my breath hitched in my throat. It was a child's handwriting. "Come outside and play." My mind raced. Was this some cruel joke? A prank? I wanted to dismiss it, but the feeling that I was being watched made my skin crawl. I glanced back into the living room, half expecting to see a figure lurking there. The faint smell of that sickly sweet scent drifted back to me, mingling with the sharp metallic taste of fear in my mouth. What was I supposed to do? Call for help? No one would believe me. I'd seen enough horror movies to know that ignoring a note like this could end badly. But would stepping outside be any safer? The urge to run surged through me again, but I fought it. I couldn't let fear dictate my actions. My phone buzzed again, breaking the silence. I glanced down at it, and my heart sank. "Please stay inside," the message read. "I don't want you to get hurt." I gripped Milo tighter. Who was sending these messages? Whatever was happening was spiraling further out of control. I needed to figure this out. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. My heart jumped, and without thinking, I dashed toward the sound, Milo at my heels. As I rounded the corner, everything went dark again. But this time, I heard laughter, a joyful, chilling laughter ringing through the darkness. I wasn't alone anymore. I stumbled into the kitchen, searching for the source of that laughter. The darkness felt thicker here, wrapping around me like a suffocating fog. I needed light. I fumbled for the switch, my hands shaking. The overhead light flickered to life, revealing shattered plates strewn across the floor. My heart sank. I hadn't been in here since dinner. Milo stood at my side, his posture tense, ears perked up as he scanned the room. The laughter had stopped, replaced by an unsettling silence. I opened my mouth to call out again, but no sound came. I felt foolish, like I was trying to engage with a ghost. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something. The fridge was partially open, the door slowly swaying. I walked over, dread pooling in my stomach. I pulled it fully open, and the light illuminated the contents. But they were all wrong. Food that I had bought just yesterday was missing or shifted around in odd patterns. The milk container was lying on its side, the pale liquid spilling onto the shelf. "Who's messing with my stuff?" I whispered, trembling. I glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out from behind the counter. "This isn't funny." Milo barked suddenly, causing me to jump. His focus was on something behind me. I whipped around, every hair on my body standing on end. The living room was empty. A quiet hum of the TV provided the only sound now, but the air felt charged, as if something was lingering just beyond my sight. Then I saw it, a shadow flitting past the window. My breath caught. I rushed to the curtain. Peering through the glass, I saw nothing but darkness. When I turned back, my gaze fell on the note again, lying innocently near the door. "Come outside and play." "What do you want?" I shouted into the air, frustration blending with my fear. I scooped up Milo, clutching him like a lifeline, as the laughter returned louder, closer. My skin crawled. Every instinct told me to hide, to call for help, but my feet felt rooted to the floor. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was happening would not let me escape that easily. I needed to uncover the truth, but the uncertainty was paralyzing. Then, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed again. I grabbed it, heart racing. "They're playing a game with you. The rules change yearly. Don't trust them," the message read. I stared at the screen in disbelief. What kind of game? My mind raced, recalling every scary movie I'd ever seen. My breathing quickened, and I felt the walls closing in. That's when I saw it. A small, pale handprint smudged on the wall near the doorway, too small to belong to anyone I knew. It was followed by a trail of dirt leading back to the living room. My blood ran cold. I set my jaw. I wasn't going to be a victim. No more running. But what awaited me in the shadows? My gaze drifted back to the darkened room ahead, the laughter now a distant echo. As I hesitated at the edge of the kitchen, a whisper floated through the air, "Come and play." I took a deep breath and steeled myself. I had to know what was going on. The note, the shadows, the laughter, it was all connected. I stepped cautiously into the living room, Milo still held tightly against my chest. Every creak of the floorboards made my heart race. The TV flickered, its glow casting unsettling shadows around the room. I scanned every corner, my eyes wide. Nothing seemed out of place, yet everything felt wrong. That's when a chill swept through the air, and I realized it wasn't just fear. It was something else, something unnatural. I moved closer to the couch, feeling the fabric stiff and cold beneath my fingertips. I noticed it then, a small pile of dust on the coffee table, bizarrely shaped like a question mark. I frowned, uncertain whether it had always been there. Milo growled low, his eyes locked on the hallway leading to the back of the house. "What is it, boy?" I whispered, shifting my gaze. But Milo refused to break his focus. A shiver raced down my spine. Then I heard its soft footsteps echoing from the hallway, too light to be an adult. My heart dropped. "Milo," I mumbled, trying to keep my voice steady. "Stay." I started toward the hallway, each step feeling heavier than the last. The laughter returned, tauntingly mellifluous, echoing off the walls. I squinted into the dim light, wishing it would tell me where the sound originated. Turning the corner, I could barely see into the abyss of darkness that was the back of my house. It came again, the footsteps, sending my pulse racing. "Who's there?" I called, straining to hear over the thudding of my heart. No reply. Around me, the air thickened, weighing me down. I had to move. I took a few cautious steps forward, and that's when I saw it, a flicker of movement in the shadows. My instincts screamed to run, but I couldn't make myself turn back. "Come play with us," the whisper was clearer now, almost melodic. Suddenly, a flash of light. I flinched as the power flickered and then went out completely. The room plunged into darkness, and panic surged through me. The only sound was Milo's frantic barking. I reached for my phone, desperate to find its light. Just as I switched on the flashlight, a face appeared in the doorway, pale, wide eyes staring back at me, lips curled in a smirk. My fingers trembled on my phone as I took a step back. The silhouette belonged to a young girl, dirt smeared across her cheeks. "Want to play hide and seek?" she asked, her voice eerily cheerful. "What do you want?" I barely managed to whisper, my voice caught in my throat. I glanced at Milo, who was growling fiercely, his body tense. The girl tilted her head, as if considering whether to answer. The air turned electric, and just like that, she disappeared back into the darkness, laughter trailing off into the nothingness. I was frozen, that moment suspended in time. "Milo, we need to go." I shot back into the living room, grabbing my keys off the table. But just as I reached the door, The sound of laughter erupted again this time, a cacophony of voices, echoing all around me. In the chaos, I found my breath. I had to figure this out. But the laughter turned into whispers again, a chorus repeating, "You can't escape the game." Then everything went quiet. An ominous silence hung in the air, and the front door suddenly clicked shut on its own. I stood in the middle of the living room, the dark corners of the house closing in around me. The silence was heavy, almost oppressive. Milo barked once more, his voice piercing the stillness, but it didn't bring me comfort. Instead, it heightened my anxiety. I edged toward the door, ready to test the handle, but I hesitated. The quiet was unnerving. What if I opened it and something was waiting on the other side? I needed to know what was happening, but fear gnawed at me. Suddenly, a soft giggle echoed from the hallway again. It was unmistakably the girl's voice. "It's time to play." I felt my stomach drop. Was she taunting me? "Milo, come on," I whispered urgently, but my dog stubbornly held his ground, determined to face whatever lurked in the dark. I needed to act, to take control of the situation. "Let us find her," I decided, my voice sounding steadier than I felt. I took a breath, trying to quell my nerves, and stepped cautiously into the hallway. Shadows danced on the walls, pulling me further into the darkness. "Milo!" I called softly, not wanting to startle whatever was out there. We moved together, a pair of unlikely detectives hunting for a ghost. The air turned colder, wrapping around me like a vice. I felt watched. Then, as I reached the end of the hallway, I spotted something on the floor. It was a toy, a small, dusty doll, missing one button eye. I crouched down, instinctively reaching out to pick it up. A spark of recognition hit me. This was Clara's favorite doll from our old neighbor's kids. But we hadn't seen it in years. How did it end up here? I heard the faint sound of giggles again, closer now. "Come find us." It was not just the girl anymore. There were other voices. I stumbled back, bumping into the wall. The doll slipped from my fingers and landed with a soft thud. Fear coursed through me as I straightened up and turned back toward the light of the living room. But before I could retreat, I heard someone whisper my name, soft yet clear. "Catherine." I froze. It was a voice I recognized, a tone that chilled me to my core. Clara. My heart raced. There was no way it could be her. She had vanished years ago, taken from us. I felt my breath catch. "Milo," I whispered, panicking, and launched myself back toward the living room. The whispers grew louder, blending with the laughter, but one voice broke through. "You need to play the game, Catherine." With each step, I felt a pull, an invisible force urging me to turn back, to follow the voices. But I couldn't. I burst into the living room, my heart hammering and fear washing over me like a wave. As I turned to lock the door, it swung open instead, crashing against the wall. I gasped, bracing myself for what might step through. My eyes darted around the room. But instead, an unexpected shadow darted past, and I caught a glimpse of a small figure as it slipped into the hallway. The laughter returned, echoing around me with a crazed fervor. "You can't escape the game, Catherine." I slammed the door shut and leaned against it, my heart racing. The game wasn't just a game anymore. It was a chase, and I was the prey. What did they want with me? What did this all mean? I needed answers. I had to know what this game entailed. And as I cast a final glance down the darkened hallway, I understood one thing: I was in this far too deep to back down now. I leaned against the door, breathing heavily as I tried to process everything that just happened. My heart thundered in my chest, each beat echoing the chaos in my mind. "What was that?" I whispered to Milo, who whined softly, his fur bristling. I needed to stay calm, but it was hard with the sounds of laughter still ringing in my ears. Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting strange shadows across the room. The laughter had died down, replaced by a heavy silence that felt almost mocking. It was a silence I knew too well. It felt like the calm before a storm. I glanced at the toy doll on the floor, feeling its presence like a weight. "What are you trying to tell me?" Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to move away from the door. I had to find out what this game was, and maybe, just maybe, I could turn the tables before it was too late. I walked slowly towards the hallway, keeping my eyes peeled for any sign of movement. Milo stayed close, a low growl rumbling in his throat. I stepped carefully into the darkness again, this time more determined. The voices in my head clamored to be heard. Come play with us, Catherine. Find us. They all melded into a chorus that made my skin crawl. Then, a faint glimmer caught my eye. There, in the corner of the hallway, something sparkled under the dim light filtering from the living room. I moved closer, my heart racing with trepidation. It was a small silver locket, lying on the floor, as if it had been placed there deliberately for me to find. I picked it up, noticing the intricate designs etched on its surface. I opened it, my fingers trembling. Inside was a tiny picture of a girl. My breath caught in my throat. The girl looked strikingly similar to Clara, but there was something different. The girl in the locket wore a bright smile that didn't match the dread in my heart. On the other side of the locket was a simple note, hastily scribbled. Time is running out. A rush of panic surged through me. What did it mean? I turned to Milo, feeling desperate. What should I do? But he was just as confused, his ears flat against his head. Suddenly, I heard it again, the whisper of my name. Catherine this time. It came from behind me. I spun around, but there was nothing there. Just the darkness pressing in around me. The locket slipped from my fingers, clattering to the floor as I fought the urge to scream. Then, the air changed, thickening until I could barely breathe. I sensed movement, a shadow behind me, but when I turned, it vanished. I gasped, wondering if I was losing my mind. Enough games! I shouted, my voice breaking. What do you want from me? I was met with silence, but I felt a strange shift, as if anticipation hung in the air. Then everything went cold. A chill spread through my body, freezing me in place. That S when I saw it, a flicker of white, a pale face peeking around the corner. The girl's giggle rang out again, this time deeper, more sinister. You're not done yet, Catherine. The fun is just beginning. I stumbled back, my breath caught in my throat. The game was far from over, and I was about to be pulled deeper into its terrifying grip. I turned to flee back towards the safety of the living room, but before I could take a step, the air vibrated with a jarring sound. The laughter, now loud and raucous, began to echo around me. It bounced off the walls, twisting and turning like a haunting melody. I pressed my hands to my ears, desperate to block it out, but it only grew stronger. Milo barked, bristling with tension, and I could tell he sensed the shift in the atmosphere. The room felt alive, an entity swirling around my very presence, feeding off my fear. I froze, paralyzed between wanting to run and the nagging need to confront whatever was playing with me. Suddenly, the lights flickered once more, plunging the hallway into darkness before returning with an intense brightness. My heart raced. I took a deep breath, adrenaline surging. Face me, if you can! I shouted, my voice wavering. And just like that, the laughter stopped. The silence that followed was deafening, the oppressive weight of it nearly suffocating. I squinted, trying to see into the shadows. There was something there, a fleeting shape at the edge of my vision, too quick to grasp. I reached into my pocket, feeling the cool metal of the locket again, desperately contemplating its meaning. Time is running out. The words replayed in my mind. But time for what? I had stumbled into something sinister, and now the stakes felt higher than I could comprehend. With a deep breath, I took a step forward, pushing aside the fear with sheer determination. My instincts told me I couldn't leave this place without answers. As I advanced down the hallway, the sensation of being watched intensified. I glanced nervously behind me, expecting to see that pale face again, but it was only shadows lurking. Then there was a rustling sound from the living room, the unmistakable clink of porcelain. My heart jumped. I wanted to run toward it, to escape this endless corridor filled with unknown horrors, yet a part of me was drawn to the sound, as if it was a call I couldn't ignore. Milo, stay close, I whispered. He followed at my heels, warily sniffing the air as if he could detect whatever unseen presence loomed nearby. I made my way to the living room, the clattering growing louder. As I entered, I froze. The toy doll I had seen earlier sat upright on the coffee table, its glassy eyes staring right at me. It was definitely not in that position when I left. My stomach nodded. This isn't funny, I yelled at the empty room. Stop playing with me. The doll's head tilted slightly, and I felt the hair on my neck stand on end. Just as I was about to back away, the lights flickered again, and out of nowhere, the air was filled with voices. They all spoke at once, a chaotic mix of laughter and whispers. Catherine, let us start a new game. Suddenly, I heard a loud crash from the kitchen. I jumped, adrenaline racing through my veins as panic set in. Someone or something was in my house now. I had to hide or fight back. But where? Before I could decide, Milo whined and bolted forward, barking ferociously. I hesitated, contemplating my next move, but I knew I was out of time. I couldn't let whatever this was gain the upper hand. My heart was in my throat as I stepped toward the kitchen, ready to confront whatever waited on the other side. The kitchen door hung ajar, a gaping maw, beckoning me into the chaos beyond. I took a deep breath, wishing there was some way to brace myself for what lay ahead, but I couldn't give in to fear. With Milo beside me, I pushed through the threshold, terrified and ready in equal measure. The room was littered with debris, cabinets swung open, their contents strewn about like confetti at a twisted celebration. And amidst the wreckage, a faint glow pulsed from a corner of the room. I moved cautiously toward it, each step heavy with dread, my heart pounding louder than the rush of blood in my ears. Then I spotted it, the porcelain doll, the same one from the box in the hallway. But now, the doll was positioned upright in the midst of the room, eyes fixed on me, as if it had come to life. Suddenly, a low, eerie voice wafted through the air. Ready to play, Catherine? Out of instinct, I grabbed Milo tighter, feeling his trembling frame against me. What do you want? I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. Silence descended, broken only by an echo of distant laughter that seemed to surround me. Then, a small wind swept through the kitchen, extinguishing the light bulb above me and plunging everything into darkness again. Stumbling back, I felt around for balance, the perceived reality slipping away like water through my fingers. My phone illuminated my hands, the soft glow revealing twisted shapes and sorrowful shadows. Milo! I called, but he was suddenly beside me, growling lowly. What is it, boy? Then, I felt an energy coursing through the air, heavy and charged. I next sensed a figure move behind me. I turned, gasping as I faced Clara. But was it really her? The girl before me looked like her, yet not. Her grin was sharp, eyes hollow and unreadable. It's not just a game, you know, Clara said, her voice laced with an eerie joy. You have to play it right, or else. Or else what? I wanted to ask, but my voice caught in my throat. The laughter echoed again, chilling me to my core. Shadows flitted past me, and suddenly the kitchen filled with whispers urgent, demanding. You have to decide before time runs out. Someone hissed, another call mixing in, join us. I realized with a clarity that paralyzed me time was the true nature of this game. My heart raced as I understood the weight of choice. If I tried to make my escape now, would I be hunted? Slipping away felt like a betrayal of some unspoken agreement. But as Clara stepped forward, her form shimmering, I felt the pull to fight back. Why would I want to play with you? I shouted, half daring and half pleading. Because you're already part of the game, she replied, tilting her head innocently, yet something wicked lurked behind her smile. We've been waiting for your turn, Catherine. Why are you doing this? I pressed, swallowing hard. The whispers swelled, drowning out my questions. Let her choose. Come and play. Hopscotch, Red Rover, hide and seek. A surge of anger mixed with fear coursed through me. I wasn't about to submit. Clenching Milo tightly, I took a step back, standing my ground. I want to play your game. In response, the room erupted in wild laughter, straining against the walls. Clara's grin widened, morphing grotesquely. The energy thickened, an oppressive force pushing against me, urging me to submit. I shouted against the wave of sound, "No! I refuse!" In that moment, something shifted. A bright light engulfed the room, blinding me and sending tremors through the walls. With a fierce determination, I dashed for the door, leading Milo in a mad sprint. I wouldn't let them keep me here. As I stumbled into the living room, light streamed in from the windows, sharp, clear, almost unreal against the chaos. I turned for one last glimpse, expecting to see Clara's haunting gaze, but the room was empty. The laughter faded like a distant memory, but an unmistakable chill still lingered in the air. I wasted no time, bolting toward the front door. I didn't look back. The outside world opened before me, a rush of wind and light, crashing against the weight of what had just transpired. I sprinted down the street, Milo racing beside me, desperate to escape the looming shadows. 3 months later, things are different but still unsettling. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I hear echoes of those whispers, threading through the stillness like a haunting song. I think of Clara and the game, and I wonder if I made the right choice or if it was the beginning of something worse. I still don't quite understand what happened that night. Mostly, I try not to think about it. I moved to a new city, left all that behind, but every now and then, I catch myself glancing over my shoulder. I wonder if my childhood neighbor is still out there, if the remnants of that game still echo in the shadows. And I can't help but think, what if they're waiting for me to return?